Good morning, everyone. It is Sunday, February 22nd, 2026. This is Truth News. I am Walter Bass. Today, we are going to talk about the Maui fires in Hawaii. If anyone remembers that, I know everything comes and goes so quick these days. They like to flip the channel. We're going to talk about the Malibu fires in California, if anyone remembers that, the Palisades fires as they were called. And we're going to talk about Gaza and the destruction of Gaza and what they all have in common. And it's one person, and we will get to that at the end. Today is day 1627 since my son was kidnapped, violently sexually assaulted, and murdered by State Judge Kelly Hansen of Riverside County, California, who is a serial child sexual predator with 16 years worth of victims of children. He is kidnapped, raped, tortured, murdered, molested, and sold. That being said, that is the premise for these videos. That is the whole reasoning I make these videos, because I'm sick of being lied to. I'm sick of the corruption. I'm sick of the evil. And the only way to combat things like that is with the truth, clarity, and consistency. So, without further ado, August 2023, the Maui fires broke out. 102 people died and 2 missing in the town of Lahaina, which is on the northwest coast of Maui. More than 2,200 buildings were destroyed, which were mainly residential. Biden deployed the U.S. Navy Third Fleet. Now, this is interesting. How come every time there are major events, there's always military involved? You notice that? Romania, the military base, and TPUSA, military affiliations. Do you see every time something evil happens, the United States military is always right there? I mean, it's a pattern that I keep seeing. Romanian Angels with Erica Kirk involved Colonel Otto Buscher and a military base being turned into a brothel. TPUSA infiltrated by the military from Fort Huachuca, Rob McCoy, other people. It's a pattern. And I'm wondering, if there's a fire, why deploy the U.S. Navy? Don't we have fire departments? Don't we have National Guard? Don't we have other measures to take? So, and the U.S. Coast Guard was deployed, which I understand the Coast Guard. I kind of understand that. People were jumping in the water to escape the fire. They needed rescue. I get that aspect of it. The U.S. Infantry Division was also deployed. So we have the Navy, the Coast Guard, and the U.S. Infantry deployed for a fire on an island in Hawaii. Why was so much military presence needed for this fire? And why did it burn 2,200 buildings? I mean, is the fire department, do they not exist in Hawaii? They don't have fire departments? Or are they incompetent? They don't know how to put water on a fire, put a fire out? How did they get to this point? And it was intentional. And I'm gonna tell you how I can prove that the Hawaiian fires of Maui were intentional. The Palisades fires in Malibu were intentional. And obviously the destruction of Gaza, all intentional. Because they all have ties to one man. One man. And we will get to that. So, all the citizens, 2,200 buildings were burned, most of them residential. So, thousands of people, families, children, all displaced, no homes, couldn't live there. You can't go back because it's a fire zone. They received $700. And my understanding, I followed this story when it happened, was in order to receive the $700, they had to sign over the rights to their land, saying that they would not return. They didn't want to rebuild. They gave up the right to go back for $700. Let me repeat that. Your house gets burned down in Hawaii. Everything you have is destroyed. The United States military is all around this. And the government says, here's $700, but you can never come back. Yeah, that's the state of the United States of America right now. So we're going to move on now to California. Hold on. California, I didn't know this until yesterday doing my research for this story. California sent 6 members of the Governor's Office of Emergency Services to Hawaii during the fires. Now, I find that ironic. Why is California sending 6 members of the Governor's Office to Hawaii for the fires? What does that have to do with anything? Because just less than 2 years later, about a year and a half later, the same exact situation happened in California. Fires that destroyed coastfront property, destroyed it. And that's another connection with this. Hawaii, beachfront, beautiful land, ocean access. Palisades fires, Malibu, beachfront, beautiful land, ocean access. Gaza, beachfront, beautiful land, ocean access. Do you see this pattern forming? These fires didn't happen in Missouri. These fires didn't happen in Wyoming. No, weren't no fires in Alaska. There weren't fires, in Maine. No. It's always the most beautiful, most sought after land in probably the world, to be honest with you. I think Malibu, California, Hawaii are some of the most beautiful temperament climates in the world. So I just found that odd when I found that out, that California sent 6 members of the governor's office to Hawaii during the fires. So I don't want to get to this person yet, my next note here, because I take notes. I do my research. I take notes, as I tell you every video. And there's one person that owns 98% of Lanai, the town that was completely devastated. 98%. One person owns 98% of that. We'll get to him in a little while. There are other people that own a lot of land in Hawaii. Mark Zuckerberg owns 1,400 acres, and Oprah Winfrey owns over 1,000 acres. Jeff Bezos also owns land on Maui. So do you see where these billionaires are? Jeff Bezos, Oprah Winfrey, Mark Zuckerberg, and I don't want to name the person that owns 98% of Lanai. These people don't like regular human beings like us. They call us poor. Maybe we're goyim. Maybe we're considered goyim to them. I don't even think they consider us human beings, because I believe in their state of thinking. I believe you have to have a certain amount of money to be considered a human being. Maybe you have to eat jerky made of babies to be considered a human being by these people. I don't know. Maybe you got to be a child rapist. I don't know what their criteria is to be considered a human being to these people, but obviously we are not. So in the California fires, January 7th, 2025. So August of 2023 was the Hawaii fires. A year and 5 months later, January 7th, 2025, the Palisades fire break out, destroying the Pacific Palisades, Topanga, and Malibu. It burned until January 31st. Now, if anyone remembers, water wasn't in the fire hydrants. Does anyone remember that? They had drained the reservoir. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was involved in draining the reservoir just before this happened. So there was no water in the reservoirs that are meant to put out fires. None of the fire hydrants had water in them, so they couldn't put out the fires. This was an intentional burn. It's what they call a controlled burn. I know everyone knows what a controlled burn is. You've been driving and seen where they intentionally burn off land to clear out the underbrush. This is what's called a controlled burn. These controlled burns just happen to have families and human beings and houses on them. That's all. That's the only difference. So, and the fact that it burned from January 7th until January 31st in California, which is known to have fires constantly. There's always fires in California. I lived in California for many years, and I remember having to reroute my path to work because of fires was burning too close to the freeway. So we had to be rerouted and go an hour out of our way just to make it to work a couple of times. And It covered 37 square miles and destroyed 6,837 structures. 6,837 structures were destroyed, 37 square miles. The Palisades Fire is the most destructive fire in the history of Los Angeles. So isn't it ironic that out of all the fires in California that burn just forest, wild national forest, open lands, whatever the case may be, the most destructive fire in the history of the state happened to burn in the most prominent land available in that state, Malibu. Isn't that funny? Coastal land, pristine, beautiful, high property values. It's a controlled burn. And there were 23,448 acres burned. 23,448 acres burned. Only, now this is what's interesting. Now, mind you, that was 2025. January 7th, 2025. It was put out January 31st, 2025. It is now February of 26. So in over a year, only 24 businesses have opened since the fire. 24. That's it. That's it. And Hawaii, I looked at the reconstruction of Hawaii. Not happening. Not happening. It says it's slow to none on the rebuilding of Hawaii. And we're going to get to this. We're going to get to why. And there's a group, I didn't know about this till yesterday because I kept seeing this one guy pop up. One of these tiny hat people. You know who I'm talking about. And I guess I can go ahead and disclose his name. I asked you yesterday if you knew what the connection between Gaza, Malibu, and Hawaii, the destruction was. There's one person. That one person is Larry Ellison, ladies and gentlemen. Larry Ellison, the billionaire founder of Oracle, who is in charge of cloud, all of the data saving and gathering. And Larry Ellison owns 98% of Maui, I believe. I don't want to get this wrong. Lanai. Larry Ellison owns 98% of Lanai. Larry Ellison owns a lot of land in Malibu. And guess who's in charge of the reconstruction, rebuilding of Gaza? Larry Ellison and Jared Kushner. That's right. So what are the odds that three beautiful oceanfront pieces of land are completely destroyed, burned to the ground, bombed to the ground, and one man happens to have investments in all three? Larry Ellison. And he's a tiny hat man. One of the tiny hats. Well, in Malibu, I didn't know this. There is a group called the Malibu Mafia, which is an informal group of wealthy, tiny hat businessmen who donate to liberal and progressive causes. Isn't that funny? These tiny hat people called the Malibu Mafia. Do you think maybe they didn't like some of their neighbors? They didn't like some of the Goyim living in Malibu. And they decided, hey, I've lived here 20 years. My house needs to be remodeled, redone. I could build a new house. I got plenty of money. But if I'm gonna tear down my house to rebuild a new one, why don't I tear down all the houses around me and get these Goyim away from me? And then I could have a beautiful house with beautiful neighbors instead of a beautiful house with Goyim as neighbors. Things that make you go, So Ellison, major landowner in Malibu, owns dozens of properties worth hundreds of millions of dollars. That's right. Larry Ellison owns hundreds of millions of dollars in property in Malibu, including a significant portion of Carbon Beach and Nobu Ryokan Hotel. Ellison is a major donor to the Friends of Israeli Defense Forces. That's right. The Friends of Israeli, FIDF, this is called. Larry Ellison, along with Jared Kushner and Peter Thiel. If you don't know who Peter Thiel is, he is one of these billionaires. He funded J.D. Vance's entire career. He started in Ohio with J.D. Vance, got him elected into Senate, got him into the vice president. This guy, Peter Thiel, is just a rich scumbag. They're all rich scumbags, let's be honest. They're just trash. They're just trash using money to cover up their filthiness. That's all. So those three, Kushner, Ellison, and Thiel, are who is redeveloping Gaza into a business and tourism hub. So they want to build a tourism hub in Gaza where they have white sand beaches. It's oceanfront on the Mediterranean Sea. Very beautiful. And they decided to just destroy everybody in it, destroy all the buildings in it. They're going to just basically bulldoze the whole Gaza Strip, and they're going to rebuild it into a tourist attraction. Now, in order to have a tourist resort in Gaza, in order to get people to come there and vacation and relax and have fun, you would probably need to ensure safety and security in the region so you could have this tourist attraction. Do you think that's why we're going to bomb Iran and install a new regime in Iran, a tiny hat regime? Do you think these tiny hats are just trying to take over everything? It sure looks like the Tiny Hat Club is trying to take over everything. They got Hawaii, they're taking over Malibu, they're taking over Gaza, they're installing a new regime in Iran, Venezuela, they got our president, they got our Congress, AIPAC. AIPAC owns our government, top to bottom, inside out. It seems to be like world domination by the tiny hat satanic occult of pedophiles, if you ask me. So we're going to do Larry Ellison. This is what blew my mind because I did a little research on Larry Ellison. He is 81 years old and he's worth $192 billion. Why are you developing land at 81 years old? How much life do you have left to live in it? And why do you need 98% of Maui, or Lanai, I'm sorry. Why do you need 98% of Lanai, hundreds of millions of dollars in property in Malibu, and Gaza? Why do you need all that at 81 years old? Why? Because you have $192 billion and you can? You're going to be dead soon. You're 81. You're going to die. Why do you need Malibu, Hawaii, and Gaza? Why do you need to do all this? These people are just sick in the head. I don't know what's wrong with them. And Larry Ellison's the co-founder of Oracle. Oracle is a tech, software, cloud, and global leader in data management. Isn't that funny? It seems like the people who control all the information are the people, and Larry Ellison bought TikTok. That's the guy who bought TikTok, for those of you that don't know. So he wants to control all the information. He wants to control what people see and hear so he can control what they think. And then he can do whatever he wants to everybody. You want to commit a genocide in Gaza so you can build a beachfront tourist attraction? Sure, nobody's going to question it. You want to burn down Hawaii, kill 102 people? Sure, who's going to question? You're worth $192 billion. You want to burn down Malibu, California, and just destroy everybody's livelihood that's lived there for generations? Sure, you're Larry Ellison. Why not? Why not? You want to buy TikTok too? Would you like to buy TikTok, Mr. Ellison? I mean, this to me is just, I've used the words cruel and inhumane and barbaric, but this is another level of sickness. It's like a drug addict. Instead, their drug is money and control. That's their drug. And there's not enough of it. There's not enough of anything. There's not enough land. There's not enough money. There's not enough power. There's not enough control to satisfy these people. They will stop at no links, at no ends. And the more they get, the more they want. And it's like an alcoholic or a drug addict. The more they get, the more they want. I mean, it starts with a 6-pack, then it goes up to a 12-pack, then it's up to a case, and it just goes on and on and on. Same way with everything else. These people are out of control. So I wanted to show a couple of pictures today. I find it ironic that I seen the picture of Prince Andrew, or Andrew, whatever. And let me ask you, does that look like the face of a man who's done nothing wrong? When it comes to raping, murdering, and torturing innocent children, does that look like the face of a man who's done nothing wrong? Yeah, I didn't think so. And just for reference, this is the man who kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and murdered my son 1,627 days ago. This man has 16 years worth of victims, children. Not just victims, children, innocent children. Using his position as a state judge, he has kidnapped, raped, tortured, murdered, or sold. And the fact that he has 16 years worth of victims is the only reason no one will do anything to help me. Because I am only one man with one child. This is a state judge with thousands of victims of children that nobody wants to account for. Nobody wants to address. Nobody even wants to admit it, because what it would take to fix this situation, first of all, this man, Kelly Hansen, his victims can't be found. They're gone. They're either dead or in foreign countries being raped repeatedly. So the victims that he's responsible for are dead and gone. That's number one. Number two, 16 years, thousands of children. Do you know how much money this man would cost the state of California to rectify his crimes against humanity? Do you know how many hundreds of millions of dollars? When Larry Nassar, the gymnastics coach, got caught, and he only had a couple of hundred of victims that they knew about. He had like 268 victims, give or take. They paid nearly $300 million for 268 victims. This man has at least 3,000 or 4,000 victims of children. Do you know how much money the state of California would have to pay for his crimes against humanity? Do you know? And let me put his name up there so everybody can see. Kelly L. Hansen. That man right there. Thousands of children. He is kidnapped, raped, tortured, molested, abused, trafficked, sold. And because of the amount of victims he has over his 16-year career as a state judge, in 1,627 days, the United States government, the FBI, Homeland Security, all of the intelligence agencies, including local law enforcement from Oklahoma City to California, have done nothing but terrorize and retaliate against me to silence and discredit me. Because it's easier to make me shut up and go away than it is to account for thousands of victims of children that man is responsible for. Which is the entire reason I make these YouTube videos and expose the truth. I don't know what else to do. So as always, we're going to close with a Bible verse. I might do a video later today on some positivity, on some inspiration and motivation, because I think, I was listening to a lady yesterday, and she said, you got to cleanse your palate. You can only handle so much evil. You can only handle so much filth and disgusting behavior by these people. And when I'm doing research, I read things, I see things, and I hear things that just literally physically make me sick to my stomach. I mean, there are times when I just literally almost throw up in my mouth, the stuff these people are doing. And so we're going to cleanse our palate. We've been going pretty hard on the evil, on exposing these crimes against humanity. So I always like to break up all of the negativity and all of the evil with a little positivity, some inspiration, some motivation. So I will probably do a video later today and try to replenish some mental clarity and try to get people to focus their minds on gratitude, because an attitude of gratitude is really what you need to exist in this world. This world is so dark, it's so evil, it's so filled with hate. You got to find something every day to be grateful for. And every day, first thing I do when I wake up is list 5 things I'm grateful for. And there are a lot more than that. My health, my sobriety, my clarity, my peace, my gym, my dog, my mom, a job, the food. There are a lot of people that don't have any of those things right now. So you can always find something to be grateful for. And I'll get into that later on this afternoon. I'll do another video. So let's close with a Bible verse. And we're going to go with 1 Corinthians 10, and we'll start at 10:6. 1 Corinthians 10:6. Now these things became our examples, to the intent that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. Don't lust after evil things. Don't lust after sex. Crave love, not sex. Sex and love are two totally opposite things. Totally opposite. Animals have sex. Human beings experience love. So, don't lust after evil things. Attention, fame, greed, evil. These are all evil things. What good does it do a man to profit the whole world if he loses his soul? Think about that. So, and do not become idolaters, as were some of them. Idolaters. Anything you put above God is idolatry. Anything. Whether it's money, whether it's attention, whether it's sex, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's power and control. Some people just like to feel better than the next person. You're idolizing yourself. When you try to build yourself up into being better than the next person in a comparison matter, there's nothing wrong with bettering yourself for God or for yourself. Everyone should try to be better to serve God and for yourself. But don't ever try to be better because of someone around you. Don't ever try to outdo the next man. Do you understand the difference? It's okay to better yourself for God and yourself, to be a better human being. Don't better yourself because Jim Bob at work thinks he's better than you. So don't try to one-up him. Don't get in that tit for tat. Oh, you do this, so I'm going to do that. Don't involve. That is petty. That is petulant. And that is juvenile. Don't involve yourself in that. So, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Nor let us commit sexual immorality, as some of them did. And in one day 23,000 fell. Nor let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed by serpents. Now I want to stop there to address the serpent thing. If you notice the Bible, it always references serpents as evil. And when you think about a serpent, a snake, they're very quiet, they're very slow, and they're very methodical. And a snake is not like a dog. A dog will bark. A dog will raise its hair up. A dog will take an aggressive posture to let you know he is aggressive and he will do something to you. Snakes aren't like that. Serpents aren't like that. Serpents are real slow, real quiet, real methodical, and they lure you to get close to them. And when you get close enough to them, you don't even see it coming. They just strike you down. And I believe that TPUSA with Charlie Kirk, they were all serpents. And they struck Charlie Kirk down because he didn't realize they were serpents, because they were quiet, they were methodical, they were slow, as are serpents. So be mindful of who you have around you. Just remember that I don't care who you are in life, no one has ever been betrayed by an enemy. Everyone is always betrayed by those closest to them. So be mindful who you let in your circle and who you let into your life. I'm not saying be a hermit. I'm not saying to isolate yourself. I'm just saying to judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. That's what the Bible says to do. People who aren't fruitful, don't allow them into your life, because they'll take your fruit. They will poison and contaminate your life. So we're going to stop there for today. That's the 30-minute mark. I try to keep these at 30 minutes. I want to thank everyone for your time, your attention. I hope you will like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Share these videos. Try to spread the truth as much as possible. And I will make another video later. Thank you and have a good day.